Welcome into another episode. I'm really excited to be joined today by former guest, one of my favorite players to watch in the country, Maddy Westbeld from over at Notre Dame. Maddy, first and foremost, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, no, me too. It's been fun. As soon as you sent the clips over, I was like, all right, cool. I'll dig in and see what you're actually looking at, and I'm excited to get into it. I do want to hit a couple questions before we get into just to see, kind of how things are going. First, I know you have your basketball clinic coming back up back in Ohio in a couple of weeks, second one. How are you feeling, going into that, especially after the first experience last year?
I am so excited about it. It's been a lot of work, but good work. It was a lot of preparation to run stuff like that. And last year, it was a lot of fun. I kind of threw myself into the fire a little bit, running it and kind of just doing it all on my own. I did it with some friends around the local Dayton area, and so we all my vision for it is to just kind of have it be by kids for kids. So from last year to this year, I think I'm trying to make it bigger, better, but just have kids around the area who grew up, played at the next level, and just want to give back to their community. So I'm really excited about it. It'll be a 1 day camp, but it'll be really good. I'm having spots fill up fast, so I'm really excited for it.
No, that's dope. It's really cool that you get to give back like that and find those opportunities. And going off that too, obviously, you're headed into year five, which is still feels kind of wild to say.
Yeah.
Coming off of year four, what was the thought process? Like what made you, I know it took you a minute to get the announcement back out that you're coming back. Like what went through your mind on like, being ready to come back for another year?
Yeah, it really wasn't on my mind. I tried not to think about it too much.
Yeah.
Just try to stay present last year, and I think I did a good job of that. And Coach Ivy was great. She wasn't pressuring me in any way, either way. I knew that she was going to be supportive of me, as well as the whole rest of the team, rest of the staff. So it really, I was kind of thinking about going pro. That was kind of in the back of my mind, like headed that direction. And then after the game, I really was just like, that was not how I needed that to go. So I'm blessed. I'm really, really kind of overwhelmed with gratitude. I've been saying that just the past couple of weeks. It's hard for me to put into words how I'm feeling about having the opportunity to come back and to really take advantage of the resources at Notre Dame, and then also take advantage of just another year to use as a bridge before getting into my professional career. So I'm really, really excited about this opportunity and excited about what we can do on the court.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it was interesting because, just talking to people in front offices, I know that people are very excited about you coming out.
Mhm.
Um, and like you mentioned in terms of being ready for that next level, it felt like you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I feel like you really took steps this year. I know we talked before the year about wanting to find consistency, and that was going to be a big part for you. And I felt like you really found that this year, especially in ACC play. What are the things you really want to improve and hone in on in this final year?
Yeah, I think last year was the biggest step. As I kind of reflect on all 4 years that I've been here, I think all 4 years have looked kind of drastically different. And whether that was intentional or not, I think I that word intentional really comes to the surface when I think about my approach to last year, and how I entered just the day, and nonetheless on the court too. So I really want to transition that into next year and just be bigger and better. And kind of the pressure's on now, but the pressure's also off. Like I'm excited to step into this new version of me, this new version of this team, this program, the standard that we've built, and just have fun. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, no, I mean it's cool too, because like at least from afar, I mean, you come to Notre Dame, the pressure is kind of always on in a good way. Like, I mean, that's what Notre Dame is. Like you have the family name coming in, you've like you mentioned, you've gone through a lot of different iterations of the team and finding yourself. So it's been cool to see that.
For sure.
Um, in terms of looking at, what this coming year can be, what was like, I know from talking to Neil, you are like the vocal leader of the team right now. Like you were the person that people look to. So what is that feeling like headed into this new year, knowing, what next year can be like and kind of having those expectations already?
Yeah, I think up until this year, it was, I don't want to say forced, but it was something that I was really trying to just become. And
Yeah.
it was kind of an expectation for me of just being this vocal leader and stepping into a leadership position and not really knowing what that would look like organically on a team. Um, and just genuinely. And so I think this past year and this year I've really stepped into just a genuine role in that and just having it be natural, just letting my heart lead me. I think that has been the main theme in what I've been doing is just being able to have the courage to trust myself. And so I'm really, really excited for this next group. I have a couple of transfers coming in to help out with that. And I'm really excited about what that group is going to bring and what this, just we have a lot of different options and things. So I'm just so excited about it.
Yeah. Is there kind of like a maybe difficult is the wrong way to put it, but like a challenge in, wanting to be a leader and also like show and teach people things? Because like obviously, I mean, like when you talk about the post command, like Kate is going to be a great player. And I think she's somebody who's going to help you guys right away. Obviously, you know what Liza and Liatu bring, but like, when you are somebody who's a veteran who's been around and you have to get your own game off as well, but you want to show that stuff to the younger kids and get them kind of in the same line. Does that make sense? Like, is that like something that like how do you kind of balance that?
For sure. I think honestly, that's one of the main things of the camp that I want to run is like
Yeah.
it's developing skills, it's also developing leadership tactics and just different ways that you can kind of put yourself first. I feel like we always think about leadership as something that you kind of just got to give. And that's what I thought going into it. But now I'm realizing that for me to be my fullest self to give to this team, I got to make sure that I'm full. So I got to put my oxygen mask on first and then be able to give my complete, whole, positive, respectful self to this team. And so I'm really excited about the different dynamics that we're going to be working with. And I think us keeping the main thing, we're focused on winning. Everybody's got a chip on their shoulder this year. Every single person has their own determination, a factor that, they got in the back of their head, a hunger, and it's personal. So I think there definitely is a lot of external pressure, that you could call it pressure. There's a lot of expectation for us. But I think that our drive, our personal purpose is what's going to lead us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Two more quick questions before we get into the film. Number one, on a more random one, I every day on Instagram I see you put CMOS on something, and I need an explanation here because I like what does it do?
Yeah,
The idea of eating CMOS is just something that has never come across my mind before, but you seem to really live and die by it. So I'd
I
love
do.
to know more.
It's something that honestly the whole health journey in general is something that I've been really, really into. And I grew up where my dad had a huge garden. And so I grew
Mhm.
up lots of like fresh vegetables, fresh fruits. And that's what I grew up on. And so getting to college, I've kind of put myself first in this aspect of like you don't have to kind of listen to society when it comes to um how this country tends to fuel itself, if that makes sense. And so
Yeah.
I really put pride in the fact that I eat a lot of whole foods. I eat whole foods. I try to avoid as much as I can, sugar, and just different things like that. And CMOS is something that has so many benefits. I try to avoid taking supplements and find natural remedies, find holistic remedies, and CMOS is something that kind of covers all of them. They have so many different just benefits from an immunity standpoint, from a skin, bone, energy standpoint. So it's a whole natural remedy that I found that has really helped me in a lot of different areas.
Okay. I'll check it out. I can't guarantee I'm gonna get into it. I do have to look into it though. What does it even taste like?
Well, the company that I've been working with, it tastes phenomenal. Like
Okay.
I I've tried to do it myself, where I bought like the actual sea moss. It tastes like straight ocean, smelled,
Yeah, no.
stunk up the whole house. I tried to sit it in a bowl of water for a couple of days with some vinegar, some lime juice. Like it's straight up nasty. But then this company that I found, it tastes so good. Like it actually, you don't get like an oceany sea salt water
Yeah.
taste at all. So it's good. It's actually really good.
Okay, good to know. And then lastly, as we dive into more film stuff, one of the things that's really fun about your game is that, I mean, kind of like you talked about with how each season has been, I feel like you don't really have a position, which I think obviously fits a lot of what today is. Like, I would call you a forward if I had to call you anything right now, but like, I mean, there are times where you can play the five, there are times where you can play the three. Like, you're kind of just all over. You can do a ton. Like you guys invert offense a lot. And I feel like that's a lot of where the game's headed, especially you see like a lot more teams running chin and Princeton and at least like, kind of not even necessarily just sets, but actions at the next level. When you look at the game and when like first off, like, are you somebody who watches a lot of basketball outside of your own film? Like, are you watching a lot of the W? Are you excited for the W season?
So excited. I'm
Yeah.
so excited, especially having that as like my future, something that I'm looking towards. I'm really trying to watch more film on different players that I look up to, the way that they run their offense, the kind of looks that I'm gonna get, and trying to implement that into my game right now. Um, but I think that this game has evolved into kind of a positionless game,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. So kind of, like Tim Duncan, players like that. There's somebody that I have always loved, but that center that only does one thing is kind of no more. And so I try to work on every aspect of my game every day. So like I'm yeah, I think that this game, and I'm really excited about this year because we can play more five out. And so it kind of opens up the floor to um more isolation. If we find something that's working, we can go back to it. The spacing is going to be great. So I'm really excited. It's going to be fun.
No, absolutely. All right, let me pull up this film really quick. But I think part of what's really fun too is like you're saying, I felt like so much of what really clicked for you guys down the stretch last year was being able to find that and attack mismatch. Because I felt like at times earlier in the year, like to be fair, like there was a lot of newness, like having to kind of figure out different play styles. But you guys really found that ability to just like work two-player game and find things from there. What was maybe like the catalyst for that?
Nobody could stop Hannah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good catalyst. Yeah.
I think Sony too. And that's one of the things that's going to make this year so special is you can't help off at anybody.
Yeah.
That's something in the past where we've kind of had to adjust and kind of play chess a little bit on the offensive end. Like, where can we place people so that we can get the looks that we want and not get this extra help side. And so I think the catalyst for that for last year was definitely nobody could guard Hannah. So shout out to her for that.
Yeah, no, it was fun to watch because like getting adapted to somebody who just brings that kind of skill set is different. And then it felt like she really had to adapt to you guys too. Like, it was really fun to watch. But yeah, all right, let me get into the film. We're gonna start off with the UConn game. I went through and sorted this out. Um, okay, so first play. Oh yeah. To start, first off, I can go forward and back, whatever you need me to do. But I have my own thoughts and stuff, but I want to hear what you think first, and then we can go through it.
For sure. Mm. Well, I knew the matchup the whole game was going to be Paige guarding me.
Yeah.
So going into it, it was a game plan of take her down, take her to the block. Um, and it didn't happen as much as we had hoped and that I had hoped, because a lot of the game they were playing help side. I think they knew that that's what our game plan was going to be. Um, but this was one play that it worked.
Yeah.
That got it, and that was going into half, because this was 9:36 in the third quarter. So that's one. I think this was the first possession. That's what we were trying to do.
Yeah, no, it was interesting too because exactly like you're saying, it felt like so much of what blew up the game in this second half was you guys were really able to take advantage in space. Like they were doing a lot of playing show and recover on ball screens. And then we'll get into it in a second, but like you really started to take advantage and pick and pop and just, getting things played out like that.
Sure.
One of the things I wanted to ask here too, like I think a lot of times people look at post ups and they're just like, oh, that's simple. It's, Maddie's 3 inches taller than Paige. All she has to do is get in front of her. But I think right off the bat, the swim is really big to get you behind her because you have to do your work early to actually get position. You can't
Mm.
just, it's one thing to be in the post, it's another to be in the post in good position. So,
Yeah.
like, what is that feeling out process for you and like finding and establishing yourself in the post?
Um, well, my dad would yell at me if I didn't give credit to him, because he true, like he's been saying, he will tell me that he's been saying it for years, but he really has, like, doing your work early to get that position, to then, it looks like a really easy layup. But the swim move, he had me watch Ohio State football my whole life, watching the DNs do their work. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's definitely where that comes from, to having that strategy.
I love that. All right, next play. Okay. Yeah, this one's 1-4 pick and roll with you and Hannah.
That's what I'm telling you. They had two people run at her. You can't guard her.
Yeah.
And especially they couldn't, I don't know what never adjusted. They really never adjusted. They did the same thing. And it was either Hannah or it was me. So yeah, that whole end of third, fourth quarter, we were running high ball screen the whole game.
Yeah, and going off that too, like I think part of what is fun and in all the clips through this one, especially in the UConn game, a lot of it's like changing up screening variation and like how you screen. How do
Yeah.
you kind of get a feel for that? Because I know like sometimes that can be like baked into a set, but a lot of it too is just feeling it out. Like, how do you kind of feel out what you're gonna do and what's gonna feel best?
For sure. I'm setting a screen. I know what play it is. I know the pace that Hannah is gonna be coming off the screen with me. That was also with Live 2 the previous year. I run
Mhm.
the same action where it's just a flat high ball screen, and we kind of just play off of it, because I could pop, I could roll, or I could stand there and wait for you to get by. And so it's really reading her defender, and seeing the pace that she's coming off the screen, so that I can get myself in position to turn quickly to then be ready for the shot, or have my feet set, be ready for the shot, or ready for the pull up drive, whatever it is.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense because I think part of what was like we talked about a little bit early on in the year, it felt like you guys were still kind of working through that, and it felt like once you hit the middle part of the year, it's like okay, we're starting to get this down, like we have the pacing and rhythm together, and yeah, it really pops in this game.
For sure. For sure. Same thing with Song. She had two people. You can't guard her. You really
Yep.
can't guard her. She can do everything. And that
Yeah.
was just, she yells at me all the time, because sometimes, I don't know, sometimes I won't shoot it. And so we're always yelling at each other back
Yeah.
and forth, like, shoot the
Oh, we're
ball.
getting to that next play. Don't worry. But yeah, I mean, Sony off and Iverson is just like it's bread and butter for you guys. She's so hard to guard as soon as she gets into
Yeah,
like we're talking about any kind of action like that. What is like maybe the difference for you in playing with if you're screening for Sony versus screening for Hannah? Like does that change how you're approaching it or seeing it?
it does. With Son, it's much more simple. Um, Either they go with her. If they switch, I'm gonna take her to the block. If they don't switch, or if there's a little bit of a lag, I'm gonna pop. And we talk about it. This is something that we practice every day. Is me and Sony coming off of ball screens. That's the pregame shots that we get up. Whether it was against NC State, different teams who we know they switch, or we know that they have a slow post, where we can really take advantage of Son coming off, attacking their bigs, and then getting the pass back out.
Okay, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, and she's really good at like the behind the back whip like that too.
Yeah. No, it's something we practice, and she's obviously phenomenal. Look at everybody yelling. Everybody.
Yeah,
You see everybody
I
just go,
agree. Yeah, Steph White says it on broadcast. Just got to shoot that. So
yeah.
like, but I do want to ask you, like, obviously, I think part of what helps in this one is like, you pretty much as soon as it happens, like, there's not really that much pause. It feels like like you're going left pretty immediately. Like, what are you seeing that makes you hesitate? Might be the wrong word, but what makes you feel like, all right, pull up instead of hitting the catch and shoot?
I knew that I was hot. I knew that I wasn't gonna miss regardless of what I did, and I knew that she was gonna be running out. Everybody wanted me to shoot it, but I was just having fun at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a pretty good game for that. So I can't deny it. But I think, going off that too, that's part of what's really fun about your game is like I would argue you're almost better pulling up than you are on the catch. And you're really good on the catch, but like especially watching you in practice, like you're just really comfortable getting going left and then getting to where you want to, like free throw line area.
Mhm.
Um, and especially when you're a player who's like, playing 4 and 5 at times, like that's a real weapon. So like, but how do you kind of balance that too? Because I think again, like part of the difficult part of being somebody who can really create their own shot is like doing that, but also being able to get others involved. And I think that's something you do really well.
Yeah, I think this year I kind of got more attention. People just started to notice my game a little bit more. And so when I having that ability, you just have to make the right read. This time people would argue that I made the wrong read. I personally like I know she was coming out. Absolutely. I could have got an extra point on the board, but I wanted her to know that you can't guard me. Whether you were coming out to stop my shot or I was coming to pull up, there was nobody on that side. And so that really is it. It's just making the right read. That's something that I have really improved on in my game because I was gifted with different talents, different gifts on the court. And so that's really the biggest name of the game for me.
Definitely. No, I like that. I think especially like you mentioned, that having to making her feel your game is big.
Yeah, for sure.
I gotta ask you, how much did you hate playing in a mask?
Oh. Well, I hated it at first. I absolutely hated it. It was like during practice, I would rip it off, I would throw it. It was something that was really frustrating um to have to deal with because people would pull it down. I couldn't see. But then I got adjusted to it just like anything else. And I kind of just shifted my mindset with it. Like this is part of me now. And
Yeah.
so I just got a ton of shots up with it. Just really trying to live and breathe in it. Every time I walked into the practice facility, I had it on. Like
Yeah.
I probably looked crazy, but it was something that I had to adjust to so that I could be natural with it on the court.
No, yeah, I think that's such a good point because, like, having, I think people only picture like, all right, yeah, you have that on during a game, but like, no, you got to do everything to get used to having that on. Otherwise, it's going to totally throw you off. It's just different.
So
Um,
I literally had this on my phone the whole time I had the mask on because I was
that's incredible.
I needed to be in that space
Yeah,
at it. So mask Kobe, mask LeBron, that's what I was on.
I love it. I love it. So this is like the one time where UConn really changed up their ball screen. Like they ice here instead of, doing what they've been doing typically. Um, again, just like the quick slip out.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is interesting too to point out, like I think especially like when you're, oh, sorry, I went back too far. Especially like when you're slipping versus when you're setting a hard screen, like it's just different footwork, right? So like, what are the things like? How big is footwork for you in terms of like getting comfortable? Because I feel like,
It's heavy.
especially what made you so good as a pick and pop big this year is like I feel like you are so good just like sliding into space, and that doesn't seem like something that you'd highlight as a skill necessarily, but like so much of getting open is being able to minimize how much time you need to get open, and I feel like you got really good at that this year.
people who like know basketball, who appreciate basketball, always talk about the footwork, and that's the most important piece of it. Like, I'm around the arc, especially coming off of a ball screen. That's something that I'm really trying to focus on in this offseason. And it's a really small detail, but it's huge for my game. Is with this lip, it was a right to left. And that's something where when if I would set a screen and I'm coming to the right, it would be a right left. And this kind of at this point was automatic, but just trying to critique that and really fine tune that footwork on the 3 point line so that I don't get stuck. And just coming around it lower than what I usually do. Cause for the most part, I had kind of have a long vertical game and I'm trying to lower it just an inch or two so I can be quicker off of my feet and also just be ready to react.
No, I like that. That makes a ton of sense because again, like I think especially when you're talking about the next level, like being able to cut down how long your paths are to get to the basket or to get anywhere on the court, that's like so big.
Sure.
And just like saving you any space.
For sure.
All right, next one is against Duke. We get a post mismatch again.
Yeah. Donovan, she's a great player.
Yeah,
She
she's gonna be really good.
Yeah, I'm really excited about her game. We recruited her, and so I kind of developed a nice relationship with her, but she's a freshman and she's really athletic, so I knew I was gonna have to create space, but ultimately she's I'm stronger, longer, faster, and so um, I knew I had the mismatch, knew I had to take advantage of it. And going into the game, Carlos Knox, my position coach, and then obviously Coach Ivy really tries to set the game plan for what I'm gonna have. So I knew going into it, it was gonna be this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think my favorite part is too, like right at the beginning, you can hear Hannah screaming, "Go, Maddie, go!"
Hmm.
Number one, I think Hannah might be like the loudest on-court person I've ever heard in my life. Is she up there for you, or is there anybody who rivals that?
Um, to be honest, she is loud. She's definitely loud. I think she's got a loud presence. I think Liv too is really grown into that
Mhm.
of just chipping away, chirping away. I think it's really gonna be good for us because she's kind of grown into that role, becoming more comfortable, and especially she was making us so much better during practice during the season. She was back healthy and she was on the scout team and she was talking to us, man. Like she was on the court just getting in our ears. And it's tough. It creates a hostile environment during practice because it ups the competition. But that's
Mhm.
exactly what we need. Like it's gonna be really fun to have those two go at it during practice and then coming together during the game. It's just gonna be great.
No, absolutely. It's cool because like I know Niel really wanted to see Liv and Sony both continue to grow in that. I know even from talking to
Yep.
her like prior years, like she wanted you to grow into that, and she's really seemed to find a way to get the most out of people with that. So it's been cool to see.
Yeah.
I also want to hit too, like I think often like people are looking at this and like they're like, oh well, why don't you just like go straight up with it? I think when you talk about reads and stuff, number one, like you mentioned, you do great work early to get her down on the block like this, pretty much underneath the rim. But then exactly you're hitting on, you hit like the kind of like shoulder fake a little bit, and then you see that she's like standing straight up, like waiting to anticipate it. So then you have the clean lane, clean space there, and you're butter with it. So it makes sense to go up like this. But I just want to hit that too, because I think like I don't know, like for the most part, I think when people are just seeing a game, like, oh, well, why isn't it just a straight layup or this or that? Like,
Hmm.
it's all about the mini reads like that.
For sure. And it's just getting to my spot and creating this space to get it off.
Absolutely.
This was there. We run a lot of Princeton.
Hmm.
Um, and so Kylie would catch it at the high post, and we love this screen away action. And at
Yeah.
the beginning of the year, I would have a lot of smaller defenders on me. So I could either we meet at the elbow, I could cut down low if I got a smaller mismatch, or I could cut high and get the ball, come off a ball screen, or reject it if I have a bigger defender, and I could use that as a mismatch too. So it's really picking my poison with this. I love this is my play.
Yeah. No, I have you guys ate with this, especially in the ACC tournament. Like this was one of my things too, like exactly like we're talking about with like setting yourself up with footwork. I think one of the things here, like just to play it for a sec, the way that like it sounds so small, but like just like taking a couple steps in really sets up the screen for Hannah. Because
Yeah,
like if you don't actually take any steps in, you just start drifting away, like yeah, screen's gonna happen, but that makes it really easy to switch. Like it's just not like it really doesn't do much if you're not setting up the screen. And like there's something like especially Connecticut does a ton of stuff running, chin and running stuff like this. And I don't know if you haven't gotten to watch it yet, I recommend the way Dewana Bonner sets up screens is like one of my favorite things out of forwards in the league. Like, and I think you do a great job here. Like I mentioned, like you take those steps in, you sell it like you're going to be able to dive in. And then that brings up like, okay, you're able to create space out of the screen. That's not there without it. And it's big time.
yeah, it's a craft because the second that you start to step in a little bit, players automatically think that you're going to post up. So you
Hmm.
walk into it and then you boost off and you go get the ball. Like it 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 creates levels of separation from your defender. So that's exactly it. And then obviously having a guard that sets a great screen helps too.
Yeah, for sure. And especially too, like when you're playing like more inverted stuff, like playing kind of outside in, when you guys do your things that are like, 4 or 5 in tandem,
Mhm.
you're not creating space going downhill. So you got to do something going east west in order to like put a little shift in the defense. So it's big time doing that.
For sure. For sure. Kylie was yelling at me to shoot it.
And then yeah, so this is same look, except it's with Sony and she dive cuts.
hmm Yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's it's a read at the top. Knowing I have the bigger, slower defender. Um, Me and Son kind of just have like an unspoken connection with that. And so I seeing her pace at the screen, I know that she's gonna slip.
Hmm.
So that's really what it is. And then, I love going left, so just rejecting it and getting to my spot.
Yeah, no, especially too, like as soon as you see, as soon as the,
And
the
both
top
of
right
them.
goes out, you're like, oh, she's gone.
Yeah, you
Um,
can see both of them hop. Yeah, 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 for
Yeah,
sure.
easy stuff. Okay, next one.
This was a progression too. It was like because every game at the ACC tournament, it's like it kind of all blends into one.
Yeah.
Is it thinking back at it, it feels like all one game. So there were many opportunities of that same like progression. It felt like during that tournament.
Yeah, the things you guys got out of horns and just like kind of making things happen from there was really
Yeah,
awesome watching. Like you talk about too, like especially like going later on into the NC State game, which we'll see. Like the way what you guys did, like getting out of flare screens and just in general was like big time and in putting stuff in the defense.
for sure. hmm That footwork, that
Yep.
footwork is what I've been working on. Of just the small read of a jab step, just
Yep.
make reads of my defender. And that's what Carlos Knox, my position coach, he's just phenomenal. Like it's more so the mental game than anything else. And
Mhm.
making those reads and those adjustments is everything that I kind of did without intention before. Um, and I feel like this is kind of off topic, but something that a lot of times as a basketball player, they tell you like you do better when you don't think, when you're just like instinctive, which is true in a sense. And you never want to be in your head. And I think that's where people are going with that route. But if you can be strategic mentally and be intentional about everything that you're doing and think while you play, it really has helped me. Like that was pure reaction. I saw that how far she stepped off and hand down.
Yeah. No, I think that's such a good point because, like, obviously you don't want to think in game, but you want to be able to be like smart when you're playing and see things. And so much of that is getting the reps and opportunities beforehand. Because, like,
Sure.
kind of going off what you said too, in terms of like, it's the footwork and it's the preparation, seeing that stuff. There are a lot of players who like can isolate and can do things, sorry, my dog is weighing into. There are like so many things that like I feel like anybody can really isolate, but can you isolate in a meaningful way and with purpose? And exactly like you're saying, like I think so often you can watch a player dribble or do something to set themselves up, but it's like, is it doing something? Like, is it the
Right.
right thing, is it the right read? Is it doing things that matter? And like, it feels like everything here is about like cutting down those things and like just like being efficient in your movements.
Mm-hmm. For sure. For sure. This is the same thing. That's almost like I'm trying to incorporate that Kobe shot, that drawing the foul, and seeing how close her hand is because you see her hand all the way up.
Yeah.
So just trying to incorporate that. And I think in this off season too, because I just started really doing that, playing with the slow jab step to see where do your feet go, where do your hands go, how far are you back. Um, and so making the progression with these reads is really something big that I'm gonna be working on.
No, I
And
really like that point with being slow with your jab step and just trying to feel out what a player's doing, especially when you're playing against fives. Like, because I think so much of your
yeah.
game is really being able to stretch out a five, especially when you're talking about what these sets are and what you guys are getting out of them. Like, you get the switch from Strack, and then it's like, all right, what can I create from here? And yeah, it's money.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, so all right, you mentioned in terms of like foul drawing, so we're gonna see more riffs from you next year.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
I'm
definitely.
excited for that.
That's one part of my game is like I'm trying to get to the free throw line more. Um, and yeah, just being confident at that in that space of just recognizing like when people can't guard me when they're being over physical. Um, yeah, definitely trying to get more touches with that.
Love it. I wanted to ask here on this one too. Like, obviously, I think you can totally see. Like you have your shot after you get off that and get back and comfortable, but like we talked about a little bit earlier, like how do you kind of balance like, all right, I can create my own shot from here, but also like wanting to play within the flow of the offense?
Yeah, I think there's opportunities to expose a mismatch. And Coach Ivy does a really good job of making us flow within the offense. And I think having chemistry with my teammates, recognizing when to stick with the offense and not going rogue, and then when to recognize that I have a mismatch and the shot that I'm about to take is the high percentage shot right here. And so I think even this was kind of a not a broken play, but we weren't really doing anything with intention. And so just looking at it as an opportunity, I see the mismatch and I'm just gonna go get it.
Absolutely. All right, next play is going to be pretty sure it's like the exact same thing, just about, but different read.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
She moves, but then she recovered. Like this was second half.
Hmm.
It was same exact situation. I wanted to see what she was gonna do. She didn't step back as far as I wanted her to, and she stayed up. So it was just go by her.
Okay.
Dog, this is making me want to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, this like that was almost the same play that I ran the game before. I think our film guy sent it to me like this is the exact same thing from when we played uh Virginia Tech. And
Hmm.
so um yeah, it's the same Princeton action, same everything. It was just same read. Let me see if I can get it the next day.
Definitely. So like kind of going through this too, and just like in general, like when you're, because I feel like one of the things you've gotten really good at is rejecting and taking advantage of a mismatch. And I think again, like we talked about a little bit, so often like players will just reject for the sake of rejecting, but I feel like you reject with intention. Like what are you like searching for, or like maybe feeling out that makes you want to reject a screen?
Um, well, I'm looking at Baldwin here.
Hmm.
I see that she's a little bit more up. When I take my first step, it's a long step
Yeah.
always. So if I were to use the ball screen, she would be right there. Um, I know that Mimi Collins' hand was right there. That she was more angled for me to go into the screen. And so rejecting it, I would automatically have a step. This is funny. This is funny to kind of dissect because in real time, it's like,
You're
it's
just doing it.
it's
Yeah,
so yeah,
exactly.
it's so instinctual. Um, But yeah, that's really what I was thinking. I knew once I got by Mimi, I would have no help that side. And on this side, you have uh player you got I got two players that I got to go against plus other teammates. I have so many more defenders.
Mhm. Okay, awesome. No, exactly like you're saying too. I think that's so interesting because I feel like it's so easy when people are watching, like on TV, they're like, well, how can you do this? How can you do that? I'm like, dude, like you aren't thinking when you do it. It's just like it's so much
Yeah.
faster on court than you see on TV.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, and then I had another question on this one. Like, and it's just more broad, but like in general, like obviously you're somebody who like again, well, this whole we've talked so much about screening actions and like you're a very good screener yourself, but you also use screens a ton. So like how does that change for you, A, the way you see the court, and B, what you're thinking, between screening and getting a screen yourself?
I take a lot of pride in the screens that I set. I think I take really, or I think I set really, really good screens and give my teammates a lot of opportunities to get open shots. Um, and coming off a screen is also an art because it's almost when I'm coming off a screen, I'm envisioning my defender is in line with me.
Hmm.
So where I go, they're gonna go proportionally. So um I think it's just creating that like it's the physics of it. Like you go one way, they're gonna go the exact same way, and then cutting off is gonna get you an open shot. And then same thing with Hannah or Son or KK, whoever's coming off a screen, or an off screen, is just reading what are their tendencies to do off of a screen, and then how do I angle myself so that it can be hard, um, and they're gonna get a wide open shot.
Yeah, it's so fascinating too, because I was talking about this with last W season, I talked about this with Asia Wilson, and like it was the first time last year was like the first time that she really like had screens set for her instead of being the primary screen setter. And she was like, I had no idea what it was like to like look towards the basket, coming off a screen. Like it's just
Yeah.
like a totally different thing that you have to learn. And it's like, oh shit, like I didn't even think about that, like that's just very different.
There's
Um,
there's some things that would seem obvious, that would seem really, really obvious that you would do, and you never like opened up to think about it.
yeah,
It's really crazy. It's really crazy that it's
no,
like so simple once it clicks, but before that, it's like you never even thought about it until somebody brought it up.
no, absolutely. And then last play,
Mm,
if I can back it up correct, there we go.
this game was crazy.
This was a crazy game.
That was my momentum booster. It was
Yeah.
I hadn't scored before this. The first half was tough. The first half was a tough half. I was I think everybody on the team was drained. Son was carrying us on her back.
Hmm.
Um, but this was like confirmation that I was on. Like
Yeah.
this crazy looking shot. I had it in me. I just needed to get rolling. So that was my confirmation that the second half was going to be cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think this is probably the best shot you hit all year when you think time period and just in general. Um, but I wanted to ask too, because like again, it's sort of like going off that one play from the UConn game a little bit. Like what, like because you get kind of more of a short closeout here. So what makes you feel more comfortable going left, or like what are you thinking like in terms of going, like obviously you put the ball in the basket, but like what are you thinking in terms of like, all right, I want to go left here.
Yeah, this is one of those that actually wasn't probably the best read in any way. I could have gone right. I know her hand is up. I could have got the shot off too. And looking at the clock with 3 seconds left, she was a little bit of a slower defender, so I could really technically get the shot off that I wanted. Um, but I think that was just a comfortable shot for me. The
Hmm.
shot fake, one dribble left. That's my shot. So I think
Yeah.
yeah.
I gotta say, I mean, this being your comfortable shot is wild, but I mean, whatever works for you.
Oh sheesh.
Yeah. Well, that's all we got film wise. I think number one, I appreciate you doing this. This was awesome. I'm
That was
definitely excited to
fun.
do more. Um, yeah, I think I mean kind of like you hit though with talking about Sony. I did want to ask about that too, because I think like Sony is still just like one of the players in general that just part of it's because she's really quiet, but I feel like she just doesn't get talked about as like that player who can really be such a difference maker. And like I feel it's not just one way. Like she's a really good defender. I feel like that always gets undersold. So what did you
Absolutely.
see in terms of Sony's growth this year?
She has been like the MVP of any game, any season. Like she is really somebody who doesn't get the flowers that she deserves. She will do anything for this team. She will put her heart, her life on the line for this team. And her skill set, her demeanor, her consistency, um, every single thing about Son, like she is the player that every single coach in the country, every single player in the country would want to have on their team.
No, absolutely.
And the fact that we have her, I think um that she's just somebody that you got to value because she doesn't seek that validation from anybody and she doesn't seek that um attention or those flowers from anybody else. And so I think it's so important that you got to give them to her when you get the chance to give her that appreciation. Oops, sorry.
No, you're good. It's so funny too, because like I think exactly like you're saying, like I think you can watch Sony in game and like be like, that's a really consistent player. You can see like her effort and what she does, like doesn't make mistakes very often. If she does, she's gonna correct them on the next play. But like she's one of the players for me where like sometimes you just need to see a player in practice to like fully understand like how they see things and do things. And I think um, I watched you guys run zone closeouts, like because you guys do like the zone closeout drills where you start with like three and then end up going to full five on the court. And
Yeah.
seeing the way that she approached doing like a zone closeout drill in like August, I was like, oh wow, okay, that's like I get it now. Like I see how she sees the game, approaches things. And it's like,
Yeah,
you totally get that vision with people.
for
Um,
sure.
but last thing, did you see who what Golden State's logo is going to be? Logo and naming.
Right before this, I saw
Yeah.
it. I don't even know. I had to Google what that was.
Oh, you didn't know what a Valkyrie was?
No, I've never seen that before, but I'm just excited that it's here.
Yeah, that makes
Dope.
two of us.
It's dope. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah. No, I'm stoked about having a purple team. We've been lacking on purple jerseys. It's going to be pretty nice.
It's tough. It almost gives like Kobe kind of.
Yeah, a little bit. I see it.
It's cool. I'm excited.
Yeah, no,
I'm,
I'm very excited for it.
is it gonna be, is next year?
Yeah, 2025. So they'll have because we'll have an expansion draft, which I it's my first expansion draft, so that'll be interesting. And then they'll have a pick too, so it'll be very different.
That's tough. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
definitely. Well, Maddie, I know you got to run. I appreciate your time. To everyone listening, of course, keep up with Notre Dame and everything they're doing. Really excited for the year ahead. Anything you want to shout out before we get out of here?
Uh, Go sign up for my camp.
I'll
Have
have links for
your
that
kids
down
sign up for
below.
my camp June 7th.
Most definitely. Well, Maddie, I appreciate you to everyone listening. Thank you for listening and have a great rest of your day.